In education, if you remember two things that I'm going to be talking to you about for the next of this year and other classes you take from me, that there's two main rules in teaching, is that you need to build relationships with your students and you are responsible for their learning, period. That's it. So today when we're talking about effective teachers, I want you to keep those two things in mind, of building relationships and being responsible for their learning. So what I feel about teachers is you can kind of put them into three different categories. You can put those teachers who are effective, who are having great relationships, they do fun things in their classroom, the students are engaged, people want to take their classes, it's an exciting place to be. Then we've got good teachers, who are the mediocre, they're nice, they're fair, it's just kind of whatever. Or we have those teachers who are ready to be done, like those teachers who are burned out, who are over their job, and it is just time for them to move on. And I know we've had some of all of those teachers. But if you think about what do you want to be as a teacher, do you want to be an effective teacher? Do you want to be a good teacher? Or do you want to be a burned out teacher? Hopefully all of you are thinking the effective teacher, because that's the best one. Because we don't go into this thinking mediocrity. We don't come in here thinking that, it'll just be fine. I can just do whatever. You don't go into teaching thinking that way, because if you did, you might want to think about a different career, because right now what we are here for is we are here to help our students, to help our athletes to become wherever they are, to be a little bit better. So whether you're thinking about coaching or therapy or counseling or education, it's got the same type of idea, is we want to help somebody get from where they are to the next step. But if you're a teacher, we're thinking about how are we going to do this with keeping the integrity of our students and keeping the dignity of our students kind of all together as, I should say, we're wanting to help all of the student, not just the academic part or the athletic part. We're helping them as humans to help support them to go on to their next step, the next journey. So if you're thinking of third grade, think of your third grade teacher back in the day. Hopefully you can remember that back that far. Excuse me. Third grade teachers to me were kind of the changing ones, where you're not from the little kids anymore, you're not the big kids yet, you're kind of right in the middle. So that third grade teacher, how is that third grade teacher going to get the second graders up to fourth grade level? There's a whole bunch of different things that we have to do. So third grade teachers are going to have to figure out, what does second grade look like? What does the beginning of fourth grade look like? How do I get my students from point A to point B in the best way I can, with everybody learning and not just the ones that comes easy to them? We have to think about research, we have to think about best practices, we have to think about learning abilities, we have to think about their skill level, and how do we get all of my students, or all of your students, from point A to point B? That's what effective teachers do. Good teachers are they'll just have extra recess and more candy and more fun, which is fine. I'm not against fun at all. But if that's how you're running your classroom, then chances are your students aren't going to be as high achieving as they possibly can. Now, high achieving doesn't mean rigor. It just means that what you're teaching is going to be best practices, so the students will be able to catch on a little quicker. Same thing with coaching. If you are going to take a team that you have at the beginning of the year to national championship or state championship or little league championship, whatever it is that you can't start and then just start throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to throw things out there. You're going to have a systematic plan. And we're going to go be best practices and what's going to be best for our students, our athletes, and we're talking about fitness and nutrition and sleep, and all of these things are going to help our students be better athletes. Same thing in this classroom. You have to have a systematic approach, and you have to be effective. And the best thing to do that is start having relationships with these kids that mean something. So you can be a model in their life, you can be a resource in their life, you can be a help and a support, and still guard their dignity, like I said before, and help their achievement. Same thing. But if you're a good coach, that means you're we're just gonna try. Whatever happens, we'll just do the best we can. That's good. That's not effective. And then we have the ones on the end that are burned out. You think about the characteristics of that teacher, and we've all had that teacher, I know we have, that think maybe they need to retire, maybe they need to move on, maybe this isn't the best place for them. And that kind of toxic environment and community that they're building bleeds into the academic success of that class. It doesn't work. Nobody succeeds from a toxic environment, a toxic teacher, and somebody that might just need to move on with the rest of their career. So when I'm asking you to think about effective teachers, I'm asking you to think about what is the best way we can be in our classroom, the best way we can be in the gym, the best way we can be in our practices with students and clients and athletes and those kind of things. So the question today, and when we chatted about this in class, we did a chart on the board on like some of the characteristics of each of these. But if you think about what effective teacher did you have in your elementary or junior high or high school that really exuded the idea of being better, of stepping up and helping the students do the best that they can? And what kind of actions and characteristics did they have? What kind of person were they? Whatever you're deciding to focus on, don't give me names of the person that you're describing. But what I want you to think about is, like, how can you start becoming more of a person like that? Like, what are we doing in our daily lives right now, or in our practice of becoming teachers and coaches, that is going to start emulating some of those characteristics that you're seeing in effective teachers? So if they're good, that's great and fine, but we don't want that. Burnout, totally don't want that. We want to look at effective. So I want you to think of an effective teacher that you've had in the past and start copying those characteristics. So, for instance, if you had a teacher or a coach who was very energetic and had a lot of entertainment value in the classes, and they had activities set up for people, and great connections and made great relationships and really cared about the students, we need to start doing that now and thinking about how we're going to do that into our own classrooms. And so you are going to be on the other side of this table, on the other side of the room, before you know it, and you're going to be teaching before you know it. So oftentimes what we do is we fall back onto defaults, things that we have possibly already have done in the past or have been experienced in the past, and maybe that's not best practices. So throughout this whole class too, we're going to think about best practices and what we can do to become more effective teachers. So please watch the video and read the section in our book about effective teachers. I'll have it linked below. And then put in the discussion box, what are some characteristics of an effective teacher that you've had? And what actions did they have? What kind of person were there? What were their redeeming qualities? So throw it up there, and I'll see you next time.